So again, welcome everyone. My name is Reverend Zoe, and today's message is on the subject of servanthood. Service is an important part of the program of AA for many reasons. It gets us to think outside of ourselves. It gets us to work on building connections with others through humility. And it gets us in touch with the parts of ourselves that we might otherwise recoil at. But doing so with humility, we can begin to see the journey we have been on is one that has created growth in us. As we think of service, a number of different things come up. Obviously, it's referred to in step 12, where the phrase "carry this message to other alcoholics, addicts," or in the Al-Anon program, simply to others, is related to the idea of acts of service. But I think even as we use the word service, it's important for us to take a look and pay attention to what that actually might mean when practiced. Sometimes when people think of the idea of offering service, they think it may be to focus on the other at the expense of themselves. Now, this isn't service as much as it's being a doormat. We can't serve others if we're not taking care of ourselves. And also, if we're thinking this way about service, it can lead us to focusing our attention off of ourselves in a way that prevents us from working on the issues that we might have. After all, let's be real here, it's so much easier to give advice than to someone else and have them follow it than to follow our own advice. Am I right? Yeah, right, exactly. And so, at other times, when people think of the word service, they also think it's offering help. But as that reading that we had prior to this message, we begin to understand that helping leads to an unequal relationship. Let me read this reading to you again from Rachel Naomi Remen, for the benefit especially also of you and our YouTube viewers. So this is edited from Helping, Fixing, or Serving by Rachel Naomi Remen. In recent years, the question, how can I help, has become meaningful to many people. But perhaps there is a deeper question that we might consider. Perhaps the real question is not, how can I help, but how can I serve? Serving is different than helping. Helping is based on inequality. It is not a relationship between equals. When you help by using your own strength to help those with lesser strength. If I'm attentive to what's going on inside of me when I'm helping, I find that I'm always helping someone who's not as strong as I am, who is needier than I am, and people feel that inequality. When we help, we may inadvertently take away from people more than we could ever give them. We may diminish their self-esteem, their sense of worth, their integrity, and their wholeness. We don't serve with our strength, however. We serve with ourselves. We draw from all of our experience. Our limitations serve, our wounds serve, even our darkness can serve. The wholeness in us serves the darkness in others and the wholeness in life. Serving, like healing, is mutual. I am as served as the person I am serving. When I help, I feel a satisfaction. When I serve, I feel gratitude. Now, I love this reading from Rachel Naomi Remen because it does help us understand what our role is and what these terminologies mean. So let's look at this. Let's explore this a little deeper. In her idea of helping, it seems as though the helper is doing someone a favor. There's a power dynamic where the helper is in a position of strength over the person they're helping. This leads to the unequal relationship that she described in this passage. Helping can sometimes feel like it's taking away from the autonomy of the person being helped. If I'm helping you, and I see myself as someone who has all the answers, then it invalidates your experience or what you have to offer. Now think about this very common dynamic, which some of you may have experienced. Say you've got young kids, and you're trying to teach them how to do chores, but of course, they don't do them properly. So what happens? You become all like, oh, never mind, I'll just do it myself. Which to some degree takes away their autonomy and minimizes their role and their participation in this experience. Maybe you've been the one who's been minimized by well-meaning others who seek to help, but end up making you feel small. Helping can come with good intentions, but at times can leave a person feeling less than, resentful. And this can include the helper. Some of you may be familiar with, say, the Cartman drama triangle, where someone swoops in to rescue, becomes resentful because they've created this unequal dynamic of relationship, and then they see themselves as a victim in a situation that was set up because they wanted to help. It starts with good intentions, but it can lead to problems in what becomes an unequal relationship. As you saw the title of her piece was called Helping, Fixing, and Serving. And even if we just take a brief look at fixing has similar roots. When we want to fix something, we're looking at something being broken, and we need to fix that which is broken. But we fail to sometimes see how the brokenness can bring its own self of healing to other people. It is a woundedness, our brokenness, that people respond to. And people can understand because we are in that same boat with them. One of those pictures that I really like is, and you may have seen it, or you can probably picture it in your mind, is when there's like dry, cracked earth on the ground, and there's a little seed that's just grown, and it's a little plant that's beginning to grow out of this dry, cracked earth. And some things are really important to learn from that picture. It's like, if that earth wasn't dry and cracked, if that earth wasn't broken, that seed would not be able to poke through. Brokenness can yield new life. If that ground was just packed hard as dirt, and just packed and dry, and there was no brokenness in it, that life could not come forth. Brokenness allows the tears and the rain and the whatever it is to come in and provide the opportunity for new life to evolve in the midst of that brokenness. And so as we talk about helping and fixing, her third point is service, serving. Serving, she says, is different than helping. Helping, as we heard, is based on an inequality. It's not a relationship between equals. Fixing is based on trying to repair something that is broken, that we feel is wrong because it is broken, when it's not wrong at all. But when it comes down to serving, we don't draw on our strength for serving. We draw on ourselves. We draw from all of our experiences. Our limitations serve. Our brokenness serves. Our wounds serve. And even our darkness can serve. The wholeness in us serves the darkness in others and the wholeness in life. Serving others is not about help, it's about accompaniment. It is a unique opportunity to accompany another person and bear witness to their journey as you walk beside them. And as you do, they also bear witness to your journey. Serving others is a recognition that there's no need for reward. We're in this journey together. Whether the service is taking someone out for coffee as you listen to their struggles, or being the person who sets the chairs out at the meeting that the person might walk into for the first time and be able to have a seat and hear the message of hope that has long been evading them. Serving others is also a recognition that even though I may be the person who's providing that service for the other, I too am being served by the gift of presence as I both witness and am witnessed by the other. The fact is that we are all on our own unique journey. And for some of us to be seen and heard, we need the companionship of someone whose experience can teach us how to grow. In his book, The Wounded Healer, Henry Nouwen wrote, "The great illusion of leadership is to think that a person can be led out of the desert by someone who has never been there." The gift of service is that we are in the trenches with each other. We're not watching from the sidelines, but we're doing this entire journey called life or recovery together. The gift of service is that we are in the trenches with each other. That is key. That is the important thing to hear. We do this journey called life or recovery together. Service matters most when you come face to face with someone whose experience has been similar to yours. Now, how many people, I'm going to throw out a question here, feel free to raise your hand. How many people here recognize that before coming to treatment, they felt alone, like no one got you? How many people at any point felt that you didn't have someone to talk to? You felt really alone in what you were going through? Let's see a show of hands. Right. That's practically everyone here. So as we think about this is a demonstration of what shame looks like. Shame is that thing that keeps us separated from ourselves, from others, and from that source of hope that is in our life. The service of other people telling us their stories, showing us what they did to get sober, can begin to be the hope that we had been unable to see. The service of those people, from the people telling their story or chairing a meeting, to even the person putting the coffee pot on in the morning, all of this matters. Each one of these people is doing an act of service, not only to meet their own needs, but I'm sure, let's face it, everyone wants that cup of coffee in the morning, am I right? But also to serve their community, to serve other people. Let me throw out a similar question. How many of you here recognize that since coming to treatment, you realize, wow, there are others like me and I'm not alone in this? Come on, let's see the show of hands. Again, very similar. Thank you. Service reminds us to be kind to ourselves as much as we're seeking to be kind to the person we're in the trenches with. The third promise of AA reads, "We will not regret the past nor wish to shut the door on it." Service reminds us that just as we are witnessing someone else's story, we use the mistakes that we've made, and as Raman refers to it as the darkness within, to be of service to another person's struggles. And so as we do that, I hope that we can remember with humility that these parts of ourselves are not bad, but they're simply experiences. They're experiences that can be passed along for others to learn, to heal. The lessons we learn can be the salve for another person. And those lessons will join us together in removing the shame as we grow in communion and community through the service we seek to live into. Again, the lessons we learn can be the salve for another person. And those lessons will join us together in removing the shame as we grow in communion and community together through the service we seek to live into. So another story. The story of Bill W. meeting Dr. Bob for the first time is a really good example. Bill wanted to talk to another alcoholic, not because he wanted to evangelize, because he needed to be witnessed. He needed to be witnessed by someone who would understand, who would get him. Of course, Dr. Bob's first thought was, oh, here's another well-meaning dude looking to help me. And as we've learned, helping leads to a person feeling less than, belittled, something Bob was very familiar with. He even arranged for his wife, his chief enabler, to call him out for an imaginary phone call early into the meeting so that he could get rid of this well-meaning helper called Bill W. But as Bill and Bob talked, Bob realized that Bill wasn't one of these well-meaning helpers. He was, in fact, just like him. Service comes from that shared experience, that accompaniment of another person. And unbeknownst to Bob that day, Bill's wanting to sit down and talk with Bob wasn't, in fact, about Bob. It was for Bill. The fact was, however, that it helped both men, and eventually they would continue sharing by going to hospitals and talking with the men, as it was typically men back in those days that ended up in the hospitals, who had been brought in overnight. Service is the act of dispelling the shame that we have held on to for so long. Not simply by being helped, but rather by being met by a caring, thoughtful other who is willing to walk that journey with us. Service is the act of allowing us to recognize that even in our past woundedness, our past experiences and limitations and brokenness, each of those can serve a purpose to meet the woundedness, experiences, limitations, and brokenness in another person. And to quote Marianne Williamson, as we learn to let our light shine, even the wounds and the brokenness in the process of healing shine, so we give others permission to let their light shine also. Service teaches us how to be that compassionate person to others, how to be that companion to others. It highlights the uniqueness of us being on a shared journey. As we accompany someone on their journey, we become reminded of the people who accompanied us. And through their service, we may not even realize we've been accompanied. It's easy to think of the people who were there for us when we needed to talk or cry. Those people that lifted us up. But there were also people that made these opportunities happen. We were also accompanied by the person, as I said earlier, who set the chairs out for us, so that when we walked into the meeting, we had a safe space to sit and listen to that message of hope. The person who even unlocked the church door or the community center door or the clubhouse building where we first heard that message of hope. Sometimes service is silently done, but it is the key to make everything else possible for us to begin to reach into the hope that we have been seeking. So as you go through this day today and move forward, I hope you remember that you have a gift. And the gift is your life, your story, and your ability to be of service to others and to yourself by simply being open to the possibilities that may be available to you. When you need help, remember that you have the power to receive the gift of servanthood by allowing someone else to walk your journey with you. Remember the story of Bill W. and Dr. Bob, and even before them, Emmy Thatcher and Bill W. When we give or receive the gift of service, we are able to transform the shame and woundedness that we feel into wounds of healing that can reach out and transform not only the lives, not only our lives, but the lives of others on this shared journey that we walk together.